anybody who does anything, specifically in a medium like this, is just be super excited about what you do. I kind of feel like, in many ways, golf history, what I try to tell people who've never listened to the show is, I'm not doing the show with a monocle and a pipe and a stovetop hat. It's not, the worst.
Not every show.
Yeah, the worst professor you ever had in college. That's not me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of the Whole Story Podcast. Jonathan and Robby here. Jonathan, how are you doing?
Buddy, listen, I'm wearing my little zero restriction BestBall logoed. If I could buy 6 of these, I would. This one's in black. Little hoodie. I thought I was warm when I started the day, and then I got cold. So, just recorded an amazing episode, and I'm toasty. It's nice.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, were you a golf history guy before our guest today?
Not at all. No.
Okay. Are you now?
I want to go listen to everything this guy has to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So our guest today, Connor Lewis, he is the Society of Golf Historians on X, and he's got a podcast, Talking Golf. What an interesting guy. And I think it's funny. He told a story. He said he did another podcast and he gets done and somebody says, "You weren't boring at all." Like, and that's a great way to describe him. Like, he has such personality, but he absolutely loves golf history, which I appreciate golf history. I don't think I love it as much as he does, or didn't. I do now, I think. But it was, man, what a great conversation.
Yeah, more entertaining than you'd expect from a golf historian. And the stories we heard after the recording would be even better if we had just kept on recording. But yeah, interesting. And I want to play around the golf with him because you know that he's got something to say the entire time. It'd be a great time.
Yeah, it'd be fun. No, and we got an invite to do it, so we hopefully we'll figure that out.
Yep.
But no, we've got when this is airing, we have our trip to St. Andrews coming up a few weeks later. So we did ask him a good bit about some of the historical things we need to look out for while we are there at the old course, and he provided that. But we think you guys will enjoy this episode with Connor Lewis. Again, like Jonathan pointed out, he is rocking that zero restriction hoodie. Those guys, Bedrati, Fairway and Green, all the folks, Summit Golf Brands, they're great friends of the show. We just got back from the Shindig, the Bedrati Shindig down in Jupiter, Florida. It was amazing. Got to meet some great people. Hung out with some of the folks from the Fried Egg podcast. Our buddy Dan Drollinger was there. Got to meet Billy Dratty. We rubbed shoulders with Brad Faxton, Justin Leonard. Just a ton of incredible people and some pro golfers too, right? Like,
that's right.
Jonathan, quick thought on your experience at the Shindig.
It was everything I hoped it would be. It was relaxed, fun. Got to see some of the new stuff that's coming out in the fall, and I think more importantly than ever, golf people are just normal people, like just hanging out, chatting, whether it was about golf or business or life or whatever it might be. It was easy enough to stand around a table and have a good time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So very thankful to be invited to that, but also just our partnership with them, and they offer our listeners discounts. So use BestBall20 at any of those websites. Again, Bedrati, Zero Restriction, Fairway and Green, and get some great stuff like Jonathan's rocking the Zero Restriction hoodie there. I've got a Bedrati quarter zip on, and they're comfortable. You can wear them pretty much all year round, including the everyday vest, which you can wear every day. But we're also doing some things. We're doing course corrections, that series where we try to get better at golf. It's been kind of comical, the ups and downs of the handicap and the amount of double and triple bogeys that are racking up. But we are making some birdies and pars at our home courses. And we're doing that with some friends at Arcos Golf and the Stack System. Our swings are getting a little faster. We are figuring out where we need to practice and where we are losing shots and need to work on gaining shots. So check out course corrections, but also check out both Arcos and the Stack System. They're great partners, so we appreciate them. We appreciate Western Birch. We always talk about those guys. Custom tees. Just had a friend, Stephen Edwards, who we interviewed on the podcast before, sent me a picture. They got some for the Twilight Golf Club that we will see here shortly, but they got some custom tees from Western Birch, and they were really excited about it. So, but without, again, further ado, we had a great conversation with Connor Lewis, the Society of Golf Historians. We think you guys are going to love it, so y'all enjoy. All right, Connor Lewis, Society of Golf Historians. Thanks for joining us for the Whole Story podcast.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, let's start. You do the Society of Golf Historians. You do Talkin' Golf, a podcast. You are an author of the Society newsletter. But let's back it up. Where did you first start falling in love with the game of golf?
Wow. I'm kind of a newcomer to the game, weirdly enough. I think you could say I'm a child of Tiger Woods. I came into the game really late. I grew up at, I didn't know at the time, it was I should say, one of the 5 courses that can claim to be one of the oldest courses west of the Mississippi. The line in the sand seems to be 1892, and I grew up in a small town in Iowa named Fairfield, and it was part of Fairfield Golf and Country Club, which was founded in 1892 with about 4 or 5 other courses across the West Coast. And didn't play golf. I was a swimmer, played basketball, played a bunch of sports, crew, all that stuff. And my brother got me into the game. Boy, I must have been in college, so that would have been, 97, 98, somewhere around there, and was a terrible golfer. And I met my wife, soon-to-be wife, now wife, of course, and her entire family was a family of golfers. And it was kind of embarrassing the first time we went out. I just got my can kicked in. And I said, I'm either going to get good at this or I'm not going to play it at all. We were living in Portland at the time, and every day after work I went to hit balls until I had some semblance of an idea of where it was going. And it kind of kicked in a love for the game. I always love history, whether it's, almost any kind of history. If you look at all the podcasts I listen to now, there's a lot of history podcasts. And, golf and golf history kind of kicked in probably 2008 for me.
So the Society of Golf Historians, it feels like there's either like a secret handshake or some type of like special coin that you get to be a part of this group.
Yeah,
how
should be,
how does
sure.
that happen?
This, as embarrassing as this sounds, it kind of started as a joke. It started way back when I wasn't on Twitter until pretty late, maybe 7 years ago, and that's kind of around when it started. I just read a lot of golf history books. It was the one thing in life outside of my kids' names that I could remember. Like if I read something about golf history, for whatever reason, it stuck in the noggin. And, I guess you could say I was kind of a Cliff Clavin from Cheers there for a while where, hey, did you know that whatever. And someone joked that, I should be on Twitter and, have, some kind of semblance of a golf history account. I thought it was kind of a joke. And so, I took him up on it. I didn't think anybody would really follow it. And it started to grow pretty fast. And just putting, historical stories out there. It's kind of, I've always been a storyteller. So that seemed like to be the first step. And, it kind of blew up, right? Kind of blew up. And then I got to share, the thing that probably will cause me to go insane someday, which is like, the brain never stops for me when it comes to golf history. And it created an opportunity for me to share it with, tens of thousands of people, if not more.
So when you first started that, though, and you're reading these golf historical books, were your friends like, all right, we get it, Connor. Like, we don't care as much as you do. And then maybe the outlet of Twitter allowed you to find more people that were more focused on it? Is that?
Yeah, I think social media is all about finding your people, right? Like there are people at my country club that have no idea that I love golf history, if I'm a golf historian or the podcast. If I am just out golfing, I think some people might think when I play golf that I just walk, every step telling a historical fact. I don't talk about golf history to someone who doesn't want to hear it. That's kind of the Cliff Clavin, where you can learn from Cliff Clavin, right? If someone wants to have that conversation, I can go pretty deep, but it's just something that takes up all those blank spaces of time that we tend to have and allows you to entertain a portion of your brain that might otherwise not be entertained.
So we live in older parts of the country, right? You go down to Charleston or Savannah or places like that. Maybe you need to start like historical tours of golf courses. So like you could literally be walking along and telling someone the history of hole number two or,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
how to architect.
Yeah,
What would be
in a
your
way,
favorite
going to
course?
do that this August. So I'm working with Perry Golf this August, and I'm putting on a Society of Golf Historians history tour of Scotland. And so Perry Golf is, putting up and putting together all the itinerary, the transportation, the hotels, the golf, and all those people that signed up, with me. Essentially, I get to do all the other stuff. So going to the RNA Museum, we're going to do some live podcasts at some historical sites. We'll do a walking tour of St. Andrews, and go see things that, I think some people just might miss when you're just there in St. Andrews. And what better place to celebrate the history of our game than in Scotland?
Well, one of the things we kind of teased at before hitting record was Jonathan and I have a trip coming up. Jonathan, you want to tell them what we're going to be doing here in a few weeks?
Yeah, so we actually are going to get to play the old course, but we get to play the castle course, the old course reversed, and then the old course 3 days in a row.
Love it.
So any insight into like what blade of grass we should be looking at that might have some historical significance?
Yeah, I mean, when you play the old course, you're playing an old course. You're playing the old course really from, the mid 1800s. Is kind of close to where it all established. Like the first hole didn't exist because the sea used to come all the way up to where the RNA clubhouse is today. Playing in reverse has to be a ton of fun. I have not done that. I had the opportunity to do it last year and unfortunately couldn't take advantage of it. There are some really cool things. I will tell you, when you finish playing, there's an obelisk at the top of the hill behind the RNA clubhouse up there by the aquarium. And that's where they used to burn witches. No kidding. Yeah. They had witch burnings. They had witch trials. And off by the aquarium, there's kind of a cliff that falls into a shallow water area. And that's where they used to throw the accused witches. And if they floated, they were a witch. So basically, like, if you float, we're going to burn you. If you drown, you're already dead, and we're sorry about it. So,
Yeah. Whoops.
One of the really cool things. I mean, obviously, you have to go to the cemetery, and you need to see the graves of old Tom Morris and young Tom Morris and Alan Robertson, which is our next podcast. The great Alan Robertson, who was really, quite frankly, responsible for all majors that existed after his death, including the Open. So I'm very envious that you're going before me, but I'll be there for 4 days just lapping it all up.
Yeah, I did a tour with the family. We stopped by St. Andrews, and a former pastor of ours who is Scottish met us there and gave us a walking tour of the town. Went by the cemetery, went through the university, and it was incredible. Got to see obviously the course. We putted on the Himalayas,
Yeah.
but now to go back with clubs and to actually play the historical course, we can't wait. We're excited.
I think you really need to go all in and maybe take only hickory shafted clubs. That's what I did my last time.
Did you?
Yeah. I
We
mean,
we need all the help we can get.
is there a better way to play the game than the way it was played? Just to see how it was done back then.
I may only have irons since I'm not really able to hit a driver or any other type of wood yet in my golf game. So I might be looking at like a 2-iron that hopefully works better than my 5.
I'll say this. I mean, if there's a place to do it, it's in Scotland. I mean, that ground is so hard. The ball will roll forever. You'll be hitting 2 irons, 300 yards.
Well, give us a little bit on the history of the reverse routing. I know it used to be that way. It used to be up to 22 holes. Is that correct?
Yeah, 22 holes back in the 1700s, narrowed down to 18. And the reverse routing was also, it was basically a set of greens that were all aligned. You'd play the same green both times. And, back in like the mid 1800s, there would only be one flag for those shared greens. So you'd have to take turns. I just had Alan McStravick on the podcast. That podcast won't come out till next week, but I asked him a poignant question about playing golf in the time of old Tom Morris and Alan Robertson. And I didn't quite frankly know the answer, but something you could think about is that golf is played on public land. We all know that. But back then, the cost to play it was £0. It was free. If you had the instruments, you could just walk out there and play the old course anytime you wanted, if you can imagine. So the building of that loopy 18 was just for efficiency, right? It's like a shepherd's crook, and it comes down and back. And in its beautiful form was really its simplicity. And again, until Playfair really saved the town of St. Andrews and, saved the town from, imminent flooding in creating what would be the first hole years later. We were stuck with a routing, not really stuck, but we were stuck with a very crowded routing that was that shepherd's crook, where you go out and in, and in many ways, it would have been absolutely fascinating, right? Because can you imagine the camaraderie? You already have that a little bit with St. Andrews, but it's the width has been added, extra holes have been added over the years, but that camaraderie of seeing, for instance, Jonathan come in while you're going out, and commiserating as you're playing essentially the same hole.
That might still happen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You will see that. I mean, there'll be, as many good golfers out there, there will be bad. And there will be, balls that have been played from other holes onto, near your part of the green. So, have you played there before?
Never.
Oh, God. I'm so jealous. Playing it for the first time, I've got over here in the corner, you can't really see it. I have a collection called My Golf DNA. And basically every historical course or important course, even if it's just important to me, I've collected sand from, its most important or most historic bunker. So over in that corner, I have some sand from Hell Bunker from St. Andrews I think I collected that back in 2008. So with hickories. So
how about that?
Yeah, it's a magical place.
How many times have you teed it up there?
I have only teed it up there 3 times. This will be my 4th coming up in August.
Very nice. Where else will you guys play on your tour?
Well, let's see. Now, so when we arrive, we're supposed to have a day of just rest, I guess, and I blew that off. I'm like, we're not going to do that. So, the first thing you do where are you flying into?
We've got a buddy that is a member at Cairns, so we're going to make a quick stop in Ireland on the way
nice. There. And then you go from Ireland to where?
To Edinburgh.
Okay, so This is a great example. So we're flying into Edinburgh. We have a day off for sightseeing. And I said, well, what we're going to do first, and this is not part of the quote-unquote package, but the idea is that when we land, we wake up the next day, we're going to drive over to Musselburgh and play Musselburgh Links. So Musselburgh is a 9-hole course. It hosted the Open Championship 6 times. It has yielded.
That's the oldest in the world, right?
I think there's some debate.
Right.
It's called the Cradle of Golf. It claims it's the oldest. St. Andrews claims it's the oldest. I think Perth has always also claimed that. Leith Links probably has something to say as well. But undoubtedly, there were 3. The original Open Rota was 3 courses, and they were a 9-hole course, a 12-hole course, and an 18-hole course. So we're going to go play the 9-holer that's pretty much intact from its Open Championship days. Go visit the clubhouse where the Honorable Company of Edinburgh Golfers was at when they were at Musselburgh. Then we will drive into Edinburgh and visit the park now that is Leith Links, which was a 5-hole golf course that they were home to the Honorable Company of Edinburgh Golfers, many other clubs, but that is where the official rules were written, I believe in 1744, if memory serves. And hopefully going to play the short course at Brunsfield before we jump in a bus and head up to St. Andrews. We're in St. Andrews for 4 nights, playing the new course, the old course, Carnoustie, and then I hope I'm not forgetting anything. Then we're going to hit the west coast of Scotland, and we're playing Prestwick and Royal Troon before calling it a trip. So we're hitting some amazing courses. Obviously, Prestwick, the home of the Open Championship, was 12 holes back in the day. I also missed out on an opportunity last year, silly me, to play the 12-hole version of Prestwick, which is a lifelong dream. So I hope that comes back. That offer is extended once again, and I get to do that.
Now, for most golfers, we're just worried about dogleg right and how far away the sand is, with our driver. How do you stay focused on golf with all this knowledge rolling around in your head?
I don't know. I don't know. It's always there, no matter what I'm doing. It's just, it's one of those things that just, I don't know whether it haunts me or not. You can't really see the background of the golf is, but it is surrounded with artifacts from the 1700s, 1800s, a Marion flagstick wicker basket behind me, the original map of Augusta National behind my head that was from the engineer. It's kind of a mini museum. So I think my retreat most of the time is this, fortress of solitude, if you will, the golfus, that just reminds me, I guess, why I do it and why it's important, because I'm surrounded by it, whether it's surrounded by it in my thoughts and actions or in this physical presence of this room.
Well, tell us a little bit about the podcast. I know you mentioned that earlier a little bit, but tell us, Talking Golf, right?
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't call it a fluke, but I was on a podcast with Rod Morey, who is an Australian podcaster, and he asked me to come on the show and talk about golf history. And, again, I just started the Society of Golf Historians, again, more as a fluke than something real. It was kind of taking off on Twitter. He asked me to come on and, do a show. And we did the show, and after the show, we kind of hung up. He called me up, and he's like, listen, you need to have your own podcast. And I was like, listen, nobody's going to listen to that. Like, I'm a little shocked people look at Twitter, but, you can look at Twitter and, flip the screen and it's gone. And he's like, oh, you got to do it. So we founded Talking Golf, which originally was just Talking Golf. Technically, it's Talking Golf. And the idea was that I was going to be one of, 3 hosts. And I would have history. There would be another host that just does interviews with, PGA and LPGA stars. And there'd be somebody else that does the business of golf. And after 3 episodes, Rod's like, hey, it's your show. You're just doing history. Like, your ratings are really good and it's growing. And he goes, I'm not going to be your co-host forever because, I hate you. No, he didn't say it. But you're going to take this on. You're going to do it by yourself. And I was like, listen, I can't do this by myself. I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, you'll get it. I don't know. I haven't looked back that far other than to listen to a couple episodes where I sound like an idiot. But maybe it was 10 episodes in or something. I ended up, doing it myself. And that was, 7 years ago. We're in season 7 now, which is remarkable. I think we're episode 127 comes out on Monday, and it's been really amazing. I mean, I'll tell people who want to start their own podcast, at least at one point, I don't know if there's ratings anymore. At one point, we were, top 20 downloaded podcast on golf. I imagine we do pretty well. I just stopped looking at ratings. And I always said, the disturbing thing for me is getting caught up in those ratings is if I really wanted to chase ratings, I'd probably chase stories that I don't want to tell. And what I mean by that is I'd probably be talking about Tiger Woods a lot. I'd probably talk about Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and make it some kind of nostalgic, kind of podcast. And rather, I just want to tell stories and do interviews of things that excite me. And if people don't care about it, I kind of don't care, right? So, I mean, I don't mean it like that. I hope hope you love it and all that. But, I'll do like crazy eclectic stories. I'll do docu-pods. I'll do whatever I think the story has to be told. And if I can't find somebody to be my guest on the show, then I do the excruciating thing of doing a docu-pod. And those are only 30 minutes long, but I think I added it up. It takes me 90 hours to do one because I need to research, write it, narrate it, put sound to it, do the edit, all those different things. And over the course of that, it's about 90 hours for a 30-minute project. So I try to avoid those as much as possible.
No, I get it, and your philosophy on who you want to talk to
Yeah.
and interview and the stories you want to tell, that, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with what we want to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, we are golf stories. We want to find things that interest us. Jonathan and I, his wife said it best one time, if nothing else, Robby and Jonathan get to hang out for an hour a week, talking golf, having fun. But we want to talk with people that interest us, that, one, we probably end up want to play golf with at some point, if they'll put up with our poor
Wait,
golf.
did I just get invited to St. Andrews? What just?
No,
Come on.
and we actually got invited to the Augusta National. I don't know if you saw this news. They're going to $0 as well. You can come
Yeah.
play it in the off season.
Awesome.
Yep. No, it's so you hit the nail on the head with us. Like, it's all about the stories. If the ratings happen, they happen.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we
and
want
here's
to
the other
talk to
thing.
people we
Like,
want to
some
talk
people,
about.
Anybody who does anything, specifically in a medium like this, is just be super excited about what you do. I kind of feel like, in many ways, golf history, what I try to tell people who've never listened to the show is, I'm not doing the show with a monocle and a pipe and a stovetop hat. It's not, the worst.
Not every show.
Yeah, the worst professor you ever had in college. That's not me, right? I'm out there, I'm making jokes, but really enjoying the energy that our guests have on the show. I lighten it up when it needs to be lightened up, and try to make everything relatable to the modern day golfer. Because if you look at it, though golf's been played since the 1400s, we as people haven't changed that much. We're dealing with the same things, whether you hook it, you slice it, you pull one out for a hole in one, or you duff one. We just call it different things back then.
Yeah, we haven't figured out what to call hole in one yet because we haven't had any of those. So, I know, unfortunately, this episode will not release by the time your auction is done. But I do want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Tell us about the auction. You've got a ton of great courses that you have listed out, available for people to bid on through your Twitter account. And I know this is an annual thing. You raise money for some organizations you care about. So talk to us about the auction, and we'll kind of gear it up for next year, right?
It's kind of nuts. It started 2 years ago, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even know why I started 2 years ago. I think we were raising funds for youth golf, specifically the boys and girls high school golf team. And I think we had like a fundraiser, a local fundraiser at a restaurant, and I can't remember how much it raised. Like a couple $1,000. And I think my comment was, I think I can do better than that. And I said, I know a lot of people. Let me make some phone calls, see what we can do. And I don't even remember the numbers, but I think, within 15 days of saying that, I think we raised, I don't know, maybe $15,000 within like 15 days. So we bought everybody. There were, I think, 30 kids. We bought them a whole year's worth of golf balls, most of which it was whatever ball they played. So it was like Pro V1s galore. I think we bought out 2 golf shops worth of Pro V1s. Bought some equipment, got lessons for them for free, all those kind of things. And I was like, oh, that was kind of good and cool and all that. And I don't know, it kind of expanded from there to, other sports that are underfunded in the area. So that's included golf, obviously. It's recruited lacrosse, which is a pay-to-play sport here in the Tampa Bay market. And then this year, we expanded on that. I think one of the ideas we've had, or I've had with the Society of Golf Historians is, it's kind of time to take that next step, whether it's success or failure. And that is to actually kind of formalize the organization, have an annual meeting with speakers, also having a dedicated website. So when I started thinking about the website and what it would take to do exactly what I want to do, I think it's going to be a pretty expensive endeavor. I really want to be a true repository for golf history where golf historians and researchers and whoever, just the novice, can find a place to find golf history. And every newsletter of mine will be on there, every podcast, other podcasts that involve golf history. It's not just, the Connor show here. One thing I think that needs to happen, I mean, this Twitter auction nearly kills me every time I do it because it's on Twitter, right? It's not, it started off as, amateur hour and, the thing started raising money. So, it was this idea of keeping it simple and it's grown into kind of a beast. So I think, the Society of Golf Historians website is probably going to have like an auction piece just so I can maintain it in one spot. So right now, if I were checking to see what Crystal Downs, Alistair McKenzie's Crystal Downs, I've got to like get on this device here, my phone, and like try to find it. God forbid anybody that wants to find it. It's not the best system, and I agree. And I apologize, I think, about it too. So, I think that'll be formalized on the website as we build it. And I don't know, it's really exciting. To your point, Jonathan, I think I will be looking to do some of those. Are there ways to do golf history things in the United States? They're very easy to do in Scotland, Ireland, England, and I want to do all those. How can we capture golf history in the United States, whether that's a trip to Pinehurst and the history of Pinehurst, which we kind of did with a Golf Historian's Guide to Pinehurst in one of our shows, but trying to find ways to not only make golf history interesting, but make it interactive in the way that, we can talk about it, but we can also play around and then, sit around for a pint, maybe record a podcast and talk about, how the game evolved to the game we have today.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
And a lot of work. And,
Absolutely.
Before I started this beard was brown. So
yeah.
We're
getting there.
You look really good for 36.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
If someone was interested in getting into golf history, maybe you got a kid, right? You got a 6 or 7 year old. Is there a book? Is there a website? Is there a space that you'd say, hey, start here and see if it piques your interest?
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a website by the time I answer that question. That'd help. I'd say there's so many different platforms that cost money. So if we were taking those out, I'd probably start with books on Google that are post-copyright. So another page for our website that we've talked about, that I've talked about, I should say, is a library, if you will, of non-copyrighted books that you can easily find in research. I mean, you can find Alistair McKenzie's book on golf course architecture online free. Like the copyright's expired. And I think that's a great entry point for a lot of people into golf history. You obviously could go to any one of the museums, the USGA, the R&A, et cetera, museums. Again, that's, kind of having to be actually present in that museum to get that information. And so, again, we're trying to bridge that gap and allow people to do that, both members and anyone from the public that goes to the website. But it's tough. No, I mean, this weird house that I've built has been built out of crumbs. And, perhaps kicking and screaming as I go, or maybe accidentally doing it. I've had friends that just said, you should you should have a Twitter account. You should have a podcast. Why don't you have a newsletter? And all those things. And, the newsletter someday is going to kill me, but doing a weekly newsletter is really tough. I'll tell you that. I've tried to encourage other golf historians to, hey, how about you take this week's newsletter? And occasionally I get that, but most of the time it's just me. But, I am well-versed in the subject, and usually I can crank out one of those newsletters within a couple hours. I'd say the only detriment to my storytelling is I don't think a newsletter is meant to be that long. And I get down a rabbit hole and then I just can't stop. So I just kind of go and then I'm like, oh, but, if this, then this. And it kind of gets into a writing exercise. And at the end of it, I'm like, usually, boy, that's really good. I'm glad I did that. And sometimes I go down that rabbit hole and, I'm a little surprised it came out as good as it did because I thought it was kind of a throwaway comment or a topic. It's, I will say this, it's a amazing exercise for my brain, which is nice. I think, as long as I'm cognizant and not, delirious, I think this is probably something I can do for my whole life and will retire into and, keep this going.
Yeah, well, I for one appreciate what you do. I pulled up a couple of St. Andrews topic podcasts that you've done, so I'm excited to listen to those in preparation for our trip. But I think it fits to like what Jonathan said. You said you're on season 7 or 8
Seven.
Of the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and Jonathan always talks about like you'll be 5 years down the road in 5 years. So might as well start something and see what happens, right? So
I mean, like the worst thing you can do. No, this isn't even podcast. This is just life. Like the worst thing you can do is fail, right? And
yeah,
I don't know if it was Henry Ford or somebody else, but basically the saying goes that, if you don't fail in life occasionally or even a lot, you're not trying hard enough. And you'll never know what you're supposed to do without putting your foot out there and trying. And so, it's gotten me into some amazing things, consulting on golf courses and history and giving speeches and podcasts and newsletters and meeting I always say golfers are the best people. They are just the best people. I am rarely disappointed by a golfer, maybe their golf game, but rarely disappointed at them as human beings. I think this game shapes people in a very positive way. And if my small piece of that pie is, catering to the 1% of them that are crazy enough to care about golf history, then that's my small part I get to play, and it's pretty awesome.
Well, one course you talk about consulting that's kind of close to Jonathan and I that I see that you're going to be doing a little consulting for, the 21 Club.
Yeah.
There in Jackson, South Carolina. I don't know if you want to talk about that project. We're excited about it because we've played Landman. We're King College now, King College Dormer.
Yep.
I hear it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this place it's going to be 36 holes. I think in the last 6 to 12 months, Wes, the owner, has decided that the best way to kick this project off is the McKenzie course. So for those of you who don't know the story here, I imagine you do. It's been pretty well publicized, but the McKenzie course is the lost El Boquerón plans that were designed in Argentina. And if you look at the land where it was originally proposed, I believe the elevation change, contouring, etc., was roughly like 60 feet, which matches this location for the 21 Club and specifically the McKenzie. What is, I think, timely, I think important to talk about in regards to why the McKenzie is multifold. I mean, for me, obviously it's Dr. Alistair McKenzie, my favorite golf course, at least in the United States, that I've played, Cypress Point. Alistair McKenzie, I've been lucky enough to play Augusta National on multiple occasions, also amazing. He was a genius. And we know that he had a special affinity for St. Andrews. And I believe that the McKenzie, or El Boquerón, was essentially his homage to the old course with its shared greens. Now, what makes it slightly different is instead of having 7 shared greens, which the old course currently has, we have 9 shared greens at the McKenzie. So the utilitarian aspect of this golf course, I think, in the modern day, with the situations we face, hits everything, right? From a utilitarian standpoint, from a water use standpoint, from a best use of acreage. I mean, I believe it'll sit on, at or under 100 acres. So you're talking about less irrigation, less fertilizer, less, mowing patterns and time to take care of the golf course and gasoline and all those different things built into a golf course that I believe will be, first of all, amazing, but also I think it'll create an amazing community of golfers, much like we were talking about the old course, where one of the great things about playing the old course is seeing other people essentially play the same green, because it's this massive green complex. And you have 9 opportunities to see something that really doesn't exist in the United States. And for all the right reasons, I think the time is now. I think the history is on our side. And I think on an outside and barely even comparable would be Lido and the acceptance of Lido. Now, Lido was built, right? It was built in Long Island, but it's been a smashing success. And I think what Lido gives us, I'd like to think that the McKenzie takes that next step in creating something with all those advantageous, just advantageous positives come with it. I'm super excited, as you can see. I just think
absolutely
they have the green complexes and doing things in the way McKenzie planned on doing them. I think it'll be a wonder.
Well, being here in Columbia, Jonathan, and Augusta, like in between this, we have this boom of amazing golf courses. Not only, obviously, Augusta National, that's right down the road from Jonathan, but Tree Farm, Old Barnwell, so many great courses, and now 21 Club on the way. So.
Yeah, I feel like that Aiken, Augusta area is, it's strongly making a case as one of the great hubs for golf in the United States. I mean, it's located on sand. You have great architects. I admire all those golf course architects that are working on those projects. And I mean, listen, you've got Palmetto there. You have Aiken Golf Club. You have Augusta National. You have Augusta Country Club. I mean, the options, both public and private, are just fantastic in that region. So I'm, beyond excited, and I think it's a good time for that area of the world.
Since we're playing the old course, if you need someone, bad golfers specifically, to try out the McKenzie course when it's released, just let us know.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be up there for the Masters. If you're around, you can come out and take a look at it with me.
Yeah, we'll actually be back. We fly in Wednesday from Scotland, so Thursday through
shoot me an email. We'll go on and check it out.
That'd be awesome.
They're doing some clearing out there right now, some of the trees on the periphery, and I'm looking forward to getting my feet in the sand as well.
Sounds like a plan. Well, let's talk about you and your golf game. That's one thing we kind of shift towards. We ask a question of every one of our guests to tell us the story, and you've played some amazing places, but tell us the story of your most memorable golf shot.
Ooh, most memorable golf shot. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. I mean, it kind of leads up to it. It was the 14th hole. I've got a lot from Augusta. I'll let me share this, and then it'll lead into that story because it's part of it. But it was my first time playing Augusta National, and if I ever get you alone in a room, I'll tell you some funny stories of what happened in between the rounds, but not on this podcast. Nothing bad, of course, but it's, Augusta. So I start off, and I'm not one who gets nervous on a golf course. I don't know if I just accept the fate of where I am, but I'm a pretty decent golfer. I am what I say the worst 4 handicap on this planet. Right now, though, I'm pretty good. Like my last 3 rounds, I think are like +2, 1 under, and 4 over par. So I'm playing where I should be. You catch me in a week, and I'll be shooting 82, 83, and I'll be miserable. But right now, I'm in a good spot. And so I go into Augusta, and first time playing, I'm feeling really comfortable with my game. Great caddy. Get up on the first tee, snap hook one left into the trees. Like, not what you want to do.
Just like Tiger. Tiger does that every time.
Snap hook. Just terrible. So anyway, we're in the trees, and, I'm looking through it, and it's like, tree upon tree with like 1 foot gaps. And I'm like, all right, let's just, take a 4-iron. I'm going to just punch it back out here. See if we can get up and down. And the caddy goes, "You come here to lay up?" I'm like, like, there's no shot. Like, what do you see? Like, there's nothing. Like, what? And he's like, right through. And I'm like, that is not a window. He's like, "You come to lay up?" And I'm like, I'm dumb enough to fall for that. So I hit the ball, and it ping-pongs off of like 40 trees. As a matter of fact, I think they just had some new trees put in. I think I'm actually responsible for 2 of them on the first hole, not the hurricane that hit it, from damage I caused on that one shot. So anyway, I double the first hole, and I'm just like, not the way I want to start it. So you roll into the second hole, par 5, and I hit an even worse snap. And now I don't know if you know par 5, but the par 5, it's like a baby dog leg left, not a terribly long hole from the members' tees, and you can go almost anywhere. You cannot go left. Left is like, it's beyond death. It's like I don't know if it's 30 feet. I mean, it drops off. You don't realize that as a patron or as a player, it goes into oblivion into like, I don't know, like a flower garden. So we get down there, ball's gone, right? Some gopher has it. There's no gophers in Augusta, but if there were, they would have my golf ball. And I end up taking a double on that one. And maybe a generous double. I mean, it was probably a handicap double. We get in the third hole, snap hook it again. Now, I'm walking down the fairway, like, the member does not know how mad I am. And that's my goal, right? I'm just going to be, like, level-headed. But I'm ahead of everybody, including my caddy, and I am swearing at myself. Like, you didn't come to Augusta National to effing, like, shoot 104, and I'm just lighting myself up. Luckily, I hit it so bad, I have an opening. And I par the hole. Then I par the next one, and I par the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Anyway, go through it, and I'm putting together a decent round finally. Don't know what happened there. I think that swearing, which, by the way, never works, right? If you get down on yourself, it only goes downhill. For whatever reason, the one time it worked. Anyway, getting amen corner. I think I'm maybe 5 over by the time I get to amen corner. Come through it, I think, with even par. I remember missing a birdie putt that I should have made on 13. I get to 14, and I didn't hit a snap hook, but I kind of cold top the drive. And I mean, like, just a stupid shot. And that 14th green is notoriously difficult. Like, the undulations in that green, elevated shot from the fairway, nothing good about it. And I pulled out a hybrid. That's how far back I was, how bad that shot was. And lipped out an eagle and tapped in for a birdie and then finished par. I think I was 4 over on the round. So it was like that 14th, there was a magical moment where, I thought, here we're going to go. We're going to eagle this from the fairway. That'll be amazing. And that'll probably always live with me. Unfortunately, it lives with me with those 3 snap hooks. And since I've played it, I think I put it in the trees on one on the right because there's no way in hell I'm ever snap hooking it to the left ever again. I'm willing to take that bogey right now. Like, if you tell me, like, you're going to bogey the first hole in Augusta, I'm like, done. I'll put it in the trees on the right. We'll figure it out. So,
man, what a story.
Yeah, there's a lot of magic in Augusta.
You didn't come here not to lay up. Oh.
Like, I don't get mad on a golf course very often. I was giving myself the business, and I made sure to do it a good 75 yards ahead of the member, just so he knew that, I wasn't some crazy hothead out here, and he'd mistake me for, bringing me out, feel bad about taking me out to the club.
Very nice.
It sounded like you recovered well enough that, shoot, if you had shot par on the first couple of holes, you might have had a round of par.
That's true. Yeah, no, listen, the thing is...
That's what golf is, right?
The second time I went out there, I played with somebody who was really struggling. And they were really down in the dumps about it. And they were apologizing about how they were playing. And I kind of pulled them aside, and I said, listen, using his name, I said, listen, nobody cares what you shoot. And I go, here's the other thing. Nobody knows what you're shooting. Like, right. Everyone's just absorbed by the majesty of this place.
That's right.
Like, just forget the score. We're having this amazing walk. You just happen to be seeing more of the course than we are. So, take advantage of that. Like, who knew there was a creek over there? I didn't know there was a creek. You found it,
You're just taking the scenic route.
Yeah. I'm like, just enjoy the walk. I've been lucky to play some pretty cool places, like all over the United States and in the UK. And, just going to places where people don't go. I don't mean to say that in a golf sense, but, walking around the property at Pine Valley without playing golf and trying to walk around the outskirts of it, you just see things that, I think people take for granted. And that's kind of the ins and outs for how this game is taking care of us, is this living piece of artwork that we get to play on. And what better way to shoot 100 and see every hole in a different way? I think he got through it pretty quick. But I think looking back, I'll bet you almost anything he doesn't remember what he shot.
But he can tell people he played at Augusta.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think it's perspective. I think the older I get, the whiter this beard gets, which I don't think it's going to get much whiter. I realize, listen, I'm not a professional at this. I'm a pretty good golfer. on a good day. But on my worst day, I'm still a golfer, and that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah,
That's a great thing.
I don't know if you're having a bad day at the Augusta National, you're good as broke. Because
Yeah. I mean, I just think I don't know if he was having a bad day. He was just apologizing for how he was playing. I was like, don't apologize. I'm like, I have an offshoot of the Seminole moniker, and my moniker is essentially like, it's okay to suck, just suck fast.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Heard that plenty of times.
I've got people who, I host at my club, and they're really worried because I'm a pretty good golfer, and I always say, listen, I don't care what you shoot. I'm like, if you don't want to keep score, I don't need to keep score. I just want to play golf. And as long as like you play, to the pace, I think everyone around us is going to have a really good day. And we can just enjoy the view, enjoy the walk, and enjoy the company.
Yeah.
Love it.
My 115 finishes at the same time that you're 75.
Yeah, right?
So.
Right. As long as if you're good company, and I think we can all work on that too, right? I mean, I think when I'm out there on the golf course and I'm playing bad by my standards, it's sometimes hard to realize that the bad from my standards is someone's best game.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's probably the case across the board for almost anybody except whoever is the worst golfer in the world. And I don't know who they are. But I'm like, with that perspective, I think, it's tough because the better you are as a golfer, the harder it is to enjoy the game. I truly believe that because what happens is you live in a world of expectation. I am a 3-4 handicap, and unrightly so, I expect to play to that, even though that's not how the handicap system works. So when I shoot, a really bad round for me might be like an 84, and I might be playing with a buddy who's keeping my score at the end. I'm like, what did I shoot? Like a 92, 93? He's like, yeah, 84, 83. But that's what it feels like to me, right? It feels like the world's on fire. Like I can't do anything right. So, I think we're all been there. I think it's just, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have no chance of being a professional golfer. I'd be on the Champions Tour already at the age of 51, and that they haven't come a knocking, and nor has my game. So, you just lighten it up and enjoy being a small part of the history of the game as a golfer.
Love it.
Well, I've had 2 golf lessons, and I got 5 years for the Champions, so there's still a chance.
You got a shot. You got a chance. Here are things that happen. I mean, really, if you think about it, Walter Travis won, 4 U.S. amateurs, and he picked up the game at 35. So, crazier things have happened. Won the British Amateur, too, for the record. So, that's not me. But, maybe it's you, Jonathan. I think you got a shot. You look like
You got it, Jonathan.
I need to get a 2-iron.
That'll solve everything, yes.
The 2-iron's the fix. Always the fix.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It worked for Tiger Woods in the Open.
See?
I'm saying, could be your club.
Worked before. And, all right, another thing we like to do is what we call the quick 9. So just a little back and forth on this. I don't even know where you're going to begin. What is the favorite course that you've played?
Ooh. I mean, it's got to be the old course, right?
Okay.
And some of that is the course, but you can't think about the course without the town that is intimately involved with that golf course coming into play. But it's got to be the old course for that reason.
Man, that's a lot of
Are
pressure.
you going there? Huh?
I know.
That make you more excited, Jonathan?
I just got into golf. I mean, sort of started playing 15 years ago. Really, since we started a podcast, sort of got into like paying attention and practicing and all this other stuff. And I know people say you're supposed to be nervous when you go play the old course, but I don't know if I'm going to be.
I'll tell you this.
I don't want to hit the hotel. That's my only
You
goal.
probably won't be more nervous than I was the first time I played it. I was playing with hickory shafted clubs and teeing off on the first hole. The R&A clubhouse is right behind you. And I'd say 20 members saw this guy. And this is like almost 20 years ago, right? So it's not like there were a ton of people playing hickory shafted clubs. And I'm out there in knickers and a sweater and a newsboy cap with a leather McKenzie bag hitting, a Jack White driver. And like 20 members come out on the veranda to watch me. And all I'm thinking is like, dude, just put this one in the fairway. And I did. So like, maybe that's the best shot I ever hit. I don't know. Because I don't get nervous, but that one moment, you've got these old clubs. If you hit a bad one, everyone on that veranda goes, he needs a modern driver. Like that guy does not deserve to play old clubs. So, but I will tell you this: I will all but guarantee it. It will change the way you feel about golf. If you love golf, it's the Vatican, right? It is the Mecca, and there is something about that town that hits you in the heart and it sticks. And it's not even all the golf course. It's just everything around it has this subtle heartbeat that is with you for the rest of your life. No pressure.
I love it.
No pressure. Now hit it down the middle. Here's the good thing about it, by the way. The first and 18th fairway are the same. So just aim down the left-hand side.
Well, the good news is we play it in reverse first.
That's true. Yeah.
So we're just aiming at the Swilken Bridge, and we extra wide fairway, right?
You're fine. Absolutely fine.
I love that description. So we interviewed Kieran Harris. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter as well. He described it in the interview when we said, hey, describe San Andreas. He described it as a thin place. And he kind of explained what it all meant, how it just brings you closer to whatever. Yeah. And it's kind of what you're describing, like how it's the Mecca of golf, and it brings you, I
think also, too, when you think about it, so much of golf course architecture has sprung from that golf course. It likely is the most copied, has the most copied golf holes, whether it's C.B. McDonald, Seth Rayner, or just in general, than any other golf course in the world. So, I mean, it just has a special place in this game, not just because of the RNA, not just because of that amazing, alt-grade tune, but it is really, it shapes so much of the golf that we play now from its strategic nature. So that's why it's important, right? It's not just the history. It's not just the RNA and the rules of the world are established there. It's so much more. And again, the greatest thing about that town is no matter where you are in that town, you can feel it. Like, how many other places are like that in the world? Not a whole lot.
Not many.
Well, you're going to catch us fresh right off of it whenever you're here in town.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I don't even know if you're coming home. I mean, there's a chance. There's a chance you just, shack up there and you live in St. Andrews.
Yep. All right, the next question, and you might not have anything, but what course is at the top of your bucket list?
I don't have a bucket list.
You've played them all.
No. In a way, I suppose there are courses I want to play, but I've never been a bucket list guy. I've kind of taken it as it's been given. I've never played Shinnecock, weirdly enough. That if there's a bucket list for me, that would certainly be on it. I've had an invitation to play before. It didn't work out. I have friends that can help get me on that course, but for whatever reason, it's eluded me. I would love the opportunity to play it, obviously, but what I'd really like to do is play it and then be there late in the day where the golfers are all but gone and take out the original routing of the course and explore. Because that course has been changed over time. There used to be a women's course, for instance. It used to play across the train tracks. And you're not going to really find anything that's been gone for 100 years or so. But the idea of that's one of the best things about golf history is that exploration and just the feel of like, oh, they used to play right here. Whether it's on the golf range or in some old lady's yard across the street that's no longer their property. And by the way, I mean, that's what there is. I think there's a house that sits where a hole used to go. One of my favorite stories, by the way, is at Lido, the original Lido. That's probably how the first group of people knew who I was on Twitter. Is I went to the site of the original Lido course in Long Island and walked the beach, and I played a hole in a sand dune, which may have been illegal, by the way, sorry, where the Biarritz hole was. I walked to the school. There's a school on the other side where the channel hole was, and really documented it with my phone. as well as kind of mapped out where the course was. And that led to I think the 2019 PGA Championship. I did a segment with Jim Urbina on the long lost Lido for the Golf Channel. And that kind of kicked off, I guess, the early stage of where this lunatic is today. So again, routing back, why Shinnecock? There's so much history there, obviously, but to be able to walk where there once were golf courses that there no longer are is one of those weird, stupid, exciting things that I like to do.
Well, speaking of, what course has the most history that no one knows about?
I don't know about, well, nobody knows about. One of my favorite courses is actually up for auction. And it's not that they don't know about it, because I did a podcast on it and I've written a newsletter, so that probably has helped it a bit. But one of my favorite golf courses and why it's on this auction is Lake Zurich Golf Club. So Lake Zurich Golf Club, suburbs of Chicago. Probably prior to my podcast and newsletter, I would say there were, and maybe still, 90% of golfers in Chicago don't know it exists. It's a 9-hole golf course established in the 1890s. I think I have a scorecard right here. I do, weirdly enough. Lake Zurich Golf Club scorecard.
Very nice. It's like a Christmas card.
Yeah, 9 holes established in 1895. It was built by the Fowlis brothers, who were the James Fowlis was the pro at Chicago Golf Club. It was built for, effectively, the children of Chicago Golf Club members that wanted their own place, right? So they built this Victorian-style golf course with Fowlis. C.B. McDonald originally was going to do the design, but was predisposed, and he offered up James Fowlis and his brother to help design this golf course. And the name of the podcast was the golf club that time forgot, because no one has touched that course since 1895. They still have a Victorian hazard, which is a mound of dirt that used to probably be 4 feet in the ground, but erosion's probably taken it down to a little bit of a lump of 2 feet. The clubhouse was designed by Jarvis Hunt, who did the clubhouse for National Golf Links of America. And what makes this place amazing is there's only 35 members. They are capped in a membership in their charter to 37, because that's what par was. So there's no more than 37 members. They take care of the course themselves. Up until the 1990s, they used to have sheep that cut the grass. They kept sheep on the property with no lawnmowers and just let the sheep take care of it. And they had, and still have, the most unique set of local rules maybe ever in the game of golf. And there's, I think, 13 of them, but one of them, I'll give you an idea, I'm paraphrasing, mind you, is if a player is deemed to have hit his ball into the woods, he shall take a drop from the fairway approximately how far he thought he would hit it, because a player should not be held responsible for the aerodynamics of a golf ball. There's another one that says,
that's my
if
kind
your
of rule.
ball is so close to the hole that someone may exclaim, "I can't believe it didn't go in," it shall be deemed hold. There is another one that says, if you lose your ball, there is no penalty. Drop where you think the ball should be. The reason is someday someone will find that ball and the ball will be deemed as stolen. There is no penalty for a stolen golf ball.
I love these rules.
These are the kind of people you want to hang out with, right?
Absolutely.
You're playing a golf course, mind you. It is very much kept up to the standards of pre-1900 golf. So the fairway may be like the first cut of rough. The green might roll to like a 5 to 7. I think they change the cup every 3 months. I mean, it is this dial-back version of golf that I feel like everybody should attempt to see in their life, of how our forefathers once played. And then you go inside this clubhouse, and it's just like turning back the clock on time. Nothing has changed since 1895. They have their red jackets. They have red carpet, which is a little much for me. The clubhouse and the grounds are said to be haunted by members who have passed. And they have photos of all these shining lights. out behind the course with no reasons or butter, anything like lightning bugs that would, make it understand why these like floating orbs are out there. Unbelievable place. Magic, man, for sure.
Definitely do check out that podcast episode and the newsletter really talking all about it. Yeah.
And Ed, who is the guest on that, is the perfect person to have on that show.
I want to see how low I can go if I use their rules.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
You shoot
but here's the thing. You need it at that course. I mean, like, imagine every shot's out of the rough. I mean, it's no. And by the way, there's only one bunker on the entire course, and it's on the first hole. Everything else is like open ground and
perfect
steeplechase bunkers. There's a pink bench out there where Marilyn Monroe was supposedly sat once. I mean, like all this like quirky, unbelievable. Oh, and the best part of the story is how the club was saved. So the club was it was going to be taken over by eminent domain. The railroad wanted to go through that course in the late 1890s, early 1900s, and when that happens to your club, you're screwed. Like San Francisco Golf Club, I believe, lost part of their original design to the highway through eminent domain. And so these crafty members, one of which I believe was a lawyer or maybe a law professor at the University of Chicago, had this clever idea. So in the middle of the night, they went to the morgue and they grabbed 5 unidentified cadavers. They buried it on the property and redeemed the property a cemetery because there is no eminent domain of a cemetery in Save the Course. And those 5 bodies and tombstones are on that golf course today.
That's the most Chicago thing ever.
They fought and they beat the man.
There you go. God. Golf always wins. All right, so this one also might be a tough question. Dream foursome. Who do you want to play with, dead or alive?
Oh, God. Once you have dead, that's tough.
I know. You're a history guy. We got to add the dead part.
Oh, man. All right, I'm going to stick with dead because I'll just pick family members if I go alive. So we'll go dead. It would be, wow. Oh, man. Walter Hagen for sure. I just think he was, 111 majors, 15 if you count the Western Open. He was an entertainer. He did a lot of things right. I think because you have Walter, you have to have Bobby Jones, who in many ways was his polar opposite. However, I think if you took their reputations, you could probably flip them and it would describe the other one. So, for instance, Walter Hagen was never, ever, ever known to swear, whereas Bobby Jones had a firecracker mouth and would throw a club occasionally in his youth. So now I'm down to like 1. That's where we get tough. I'm probably going to go, oh, God, that's tough. It's going to be between Harry Vardon, old Tom Morris, and young Tom Morris. And I think I'm going to go young Tom Morris. Because I think I'd love to see, I think I'd see a little bit of his father's swing in him with some added skill. And in many ways, the game we have today, well, it's probably true for all the people I just mentioned, was shaped by those individuals. They are, people always ask me, who's the GOAT? And I always say there's 5 to 6 of them. Tiger Jack, of course. You have Harry Vardon, probably Bobby Jones, and young Tom Morris. So to get on the field of battle, I think we'd probably have a battle over what clubs we play. I think Tommy's going to lean on the clubs from the 1800s, and I think it'd be very interesting to see how, Bobby and Sir Walter play with, a gutta percha ball and long-nosed clubs. Be a real entertaining day.
We'll be there to watch it, document it for you.
Yeah.
It'll be a good one.
What is your favorite golf book?
Oh, wow. Usually the one I'm reading. That's my cop-out. I will say the one that's normally by my side is Scotland's Gift by Charles Blair Macdonald. I mention this a lot, but it's an entertaining book. It tells a little bit about the early history of the game in the United States. It talks about architecture, which I love. And C.B. Macdonald was kind of a arrogant, you-know-what. And you get a little bit of that in that book, right? You get a little bit that, he really liked himself. and was kind of a force of nature. He was 6 foot tall in an era where most people were 5'7", 5'8". I think he used it to his advantage and helped shape the game we love so much, whether that be from an architecture standpoint or a role standpoint. A lot of that is captured in that book. So, and for those at home, I think you can get one on eBay for like $5 to $10. So it's a good book.
I like it. Well, you kind of already alluded to the next one, but we were going to ask favorite golf course architect.
Wow. No, yeah. I mean,
you dropped the McKenzie.
I mean, like my favorite. You go by my favorite course. It's Dr. Alistair McKenzie. I think he's a genius. There's so many geniuses. I'm a member of a Donald Ross course, so I'm definitely favorable. I mean, I'm probably sticking with McKenzie because if you call me at almost any given hour and say, "Hey, do you want to play Cypress Point or Augusta National?" Probably the two places I don't say no to. That's not true, actually. I did turn down playing Augusta National the first time I was asked because my son had a lacrosse game, and I don't miss those. So
good for you.
Yeah, priority.
Good for you.
And then I told a buddy about that, and he was like, "What the hell's wrong with you? Your kid will play next week. You don't know if you'll ever play." And I was like, it was the decision that had to be made. And my son's a goalie. If he was like just a defender or attackman, those guys have easy jobs. Like, they don't need any support at all. They play bad, nobody remembers. You play bad as a goalie, the whole world remembers.
That's great.
Yep.
I don't know about if there's much history to this, but what is your favorite snack on the golf course?
Oh, wow. Right now, I'm really into, weird, but peanut butter pretzels. Ooh, yeah, I think they fill you up, got a little bit of protein, a little salt, which helps a little bit. It's kind of my go-to if I'm at Bel Air. First of all, my first go-to for a drink is usually the Propel flavored water, peach, which, by the way, brings me back to my youth when you used to have those cups of peaches as a kid and you drink the juice. Tastes just like the juice. I mean, like, nails it. So it's kind of nostalgic to drink that. And then if not that, and it's late in the day, I'll get a Diet Cherry Coke. So a Diet Coke with grenadine. Diet Roy Rogers if you're from the West.
I like it. All right. This might be a tough question as well, but favorite golf course logo?
Ooh. I mean, I don't even know if that's tough. I mean, there's a lot of great ones. Marion comes to mind, but it's got to be Sleepy Hollow. I mean, I should name the ones that I designed, to be fair, but I designed the band logos of Bel Air that the club didn't want. And so they're all over my stuff. But no, I mean, you can't go wrong. I think Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman, is, I mean, first of all, it's an amazing course, one of my top ones that I love so much to play. But like that Headless Horseman, and along with Sleepy Hollow, I mean, that's just genius. It's genius at one.
Yeah. We've got an invite there. We just haven't taken it up on it yet.
You're insane. Go take it right now.
Yeah.
My kids got it.
C.B. McDonald design, Gil Hands comes in and renovates the golf course. Obviously, the 16th hole with its.
Did you see the Golfer's Journal video with that? Like the Golfer's Journal showed it, and the guy's like on the 16th to par 3, is that right?
Yeah.
So the guy's like, of course, waited forever to play this. He's on the tee, and he's in the middle of his backswing, and then the bell rings that like cleared the previous green. So of course he shanks it or something.
Oh.
Hits it fat, and so it was pretty funny video. Yeah.
Brutal.
Yep. And then we got the story. We happened to be interviewing somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, that was my caddy."
Oh, it rang the bell.
Yeah.
Oh, the question is, did he do it on purpose?
I don't believe so.
Caddies can be mischievous.
Yeah, caddies should be paying it a little bit more attention, maybe. But yeah,
that's awesome. That's a great story.
All right, last question here. What is next for the Society of Golf Historians?
Well, let's see. We have our podcast coming out on Monday on the great Alan Robertson, who is the golfer that really caused the Open to happen. His death in 1859 created a gap, or perhaps a question mark, as to who was the greatest golfer alive. He was that person for 24 years, and that question created an opportunity, which is now the Open Championship. But most of all, I mean, I've got right now the auction's going on, 42 courses. And after that, I'm going to probably do everything I can to create this amazing, website that'll be a repository for golf history. Fail or succeed, we're going to go for it and see what happens and creates out of it. I've got a lot of people with input. We've got some interesting ideas for what we're going to do with it. some plausible, some perhaps not. But that's the best thing about the dream, right? Is you can go anywhere you want, and then you got to see if you can make reality happen out of it.
That's what we're trying to do that every day. So we know exactly what you're talking about.
Right?
We're doing it, man.
Sounds like my golf swing.
Yeah, there you go. With your tool.
Yeah. There you go. With this 2-iron. That's right. Well, let me ask one final bonus question. As we prep for our trip to St. Andrews, what is one piece of a book, a podcast, something that we need to consume to make our experience more enjoyable?
That's a great question. I'll say this. I mean, this is awful because it's my podcast, so that seems self-serving. But
no, that's fine.
You will love this. So I had Roger McStravick, who is the preeminent historian, one of the preeminent historians in St. Andrews, on the podcast, and we did a golf historian's guide to St. Andrews. And you will learn a lot. A lot of it's funny. I mean, we have clips from like Monty Python in there. When you play the 18th green, you should know that there's literally bodies buried under it. And we dive into some of those stories of the things you wouldn't even think about looking at or talking about when you're in St. Andrews that are not necessarily even on the golf course. So I'd say that from a book standpoint, again, it's the one that's in my head because I've read it 3 times before the podcast, but just released Alan Robertson's book, Roger McStravick's book on Alan Robertson. It's an amazing book, and I'd say the first 100 pages or so really dive into the history of St. Andrews and the golf course and what it was prior to the days of Alan Robertson, and then into Alan Robertson's time and essentially shaping the pre-Open era and the entry essentially into the world of Old Tom Morris, who is the patron saint of golf. So I'd say between those two things, you can't go wrong because Roger's book does such a great job identifying how the town changed through, the decades and eons into what we have today while talking about one of the most preeminent figures that nobody has talked about in the past.
Love it. We will be checking that out for sure. Jonathan, you got to read a book.
I do have to read a book.
There you go.
Just
all right.
So, yeah, it's good times for golf and golf historians right now.
Love it. Well, we'd recommend for sure everybody checking out the Society of Golf Historians, both your Twitter account or X account, whatever they call it now, your podcast, and soon to becoming best golf historical website ever created.
It's a really shallow list.
Yes. Hey, you know what? A lot of people have to be the best, and you might as well be it, right?
So, someone once told me that I was the what was it? Most well-known or most famous, it was some terrible moniker, golf historian, right? And I said, it's kind of like being the most famous kazoo player. Nobody gives a crap.
But somebody out there loves a kazoo, and you are providing a great service for them.
You know what? I'm going to find that kazoo player, and we'll sit around, put our arms around each other, and just commiserate about what obscurity looks like.
They could make they could redo the intro music for your podcast.
Oh, yeah, just kazoo that thing.
Kazoo, man. Jamming on the kazoo.
I mean, yes, we're going to do that. You'll be playing it like the guy plays the saxophone in the Lost Boys movie without a shirt, his hair all slicked back, just playing that heart out. Yeah, I love it.
Or Will Ferrell and Anchorman with the Yaz flute.
Just nailed it.
Well, Connor, this has been great, man. We really appreciate you joining Jonathan and myself for this episode of the Whole Story Podcast.
Well, guys, best success. Obviously, the podcast is killing it, but I cannot wait to hear about your adventure in St. Andrews. I hope you do an episode talking about what your adventure was like.
Oh, we're going to document every piece of it we can.
Every 2-iron hit by Jonathan.
I got to find a 2-iron first. I don't have it.
Yep. Well, there we go. And you got to find a left-handed 2-iron, so that's right.
That's rough. Oh, you're a wrongy. You're not a righty. You're a wrongy.
That's right.
I've got one of those in the family too.
There you go. Well, for Connor and Jonathan, this is Robby. You've been listening to another episode of the Whole Story Podcast.